Hi, welcome to this week's video. We are Corey, Peyton, and myself, Yaila, and this is a follow-up video to how do you know if your energy is blocked? This week, we're going to be discussing how do you get back into alignment after you've cleared those blockages, or if you've noticed there's something being blocked, how do you get back on track? So, Corey, let's start with you this week. What would you say you do to get back into alignment?
Well, thank you, Yaila. Okay, what do I do what can we all do to get back into alignment? Laughter. Actually, the ladies and I, as we were just getting ready for this video, which is perfect for all three of us at the moment, is we were just laughing. I know that getting back into alignment after releasing the blockages is if we can find something funny. Laughter changes your energy. It stops the motion of what was coming in and changes direction. So my go-to really is always laughter, but there's other tools as well. One of the tools is actually taking everything that you've unblocked and releasing it either into the ground. You can release it up to the cosmos. You can give it to an archangel, but that's how you start to be in alignment, is to you unblock yourself, you release that energy, and then bring in what you'd like to have. So oftentimes when I'm feeling funky, or if I'm agitated or frustrated, and that's considered a block, first I have to get rid of it. Got to put it, give it either down, ground it out, or explode it out. And then, but sitting in meditation always helps me get back into alignment with what's inside, how I'm feeling, the thoughts that are just going in and out, in and out. And that helps to start getting back into alignment. I bring in the angels. I always thank them for their presence, for reminding me of their presence, and being able to feel their vibration. Is an instant get into alignment. So I love teaching my clients and students about angels, and bringing them in and feeling their frequency. So bringing in a different frequency if you need it, like Peyton, she loves her Pleiades. That's always amazing. So getting back into alignment is actually getting back into your body, back into your inner self, and finding that peace or laughter. Sometimes one last thing I'll say is exercising. I know that if I have a buildup of energy, and even though I've released it, moving my physical body will help me get back into alignment, because it's part of that releasing the energy that's being blocked, that's no longer serving me or anybody else around me. And moving my body will always help me get back into alignment. And so as the past several years, a lot of us all have become very sedentary, where we were forced to be in our houses and not able to move around a lot. And those blocks, I know for me and a lot of my clients, and still some of my students, it's been a process to unblock that fear. But meditating, moving my energy, or just moving the body, bringing in laughter, and bringing in a new frequency, whether it's the angels, whatever guides or spirit guides, guardian angels, whatever you work with, always helps with getting back in the body and aligning, getting more aligned with the soul self. So that's what I've got for right now. Peyton?
Thanks, Corey. Yeah, that was great. I totally agree with a lot of what you just mentioned. So for me, when I get out of alignment, and I think this is really a perfect time for us to be doing this video because so many people are struggling with this right now, and these solar energies are not helping. So it is just a time when a lot of us are looking for, how do we get, back in alignment, get ourselves balanced again? And so for me, this question, especially when I get out of alignment, I always come back to kind of a holistic approach because, of course, anytime we are out of alignment, we're just in resistance of some form. And so we have lots of ways that we can release resistance. And Corey gave some great examples of that, handing off energy to our helpers, the archangels or star family can be very helpful. But I think there's a couple ways that we can go about this when we get out of alignment. So one of the first things that I do when I'm not feeling quite right is to balance my energy field. And this is something that we talk about in most of our videos, which is all of these great tools that help stabilize our energy. So whether that is grounding your energy, energy protection, doing a little shadow work, all of these things help us to release resistance. And a lot of these help us just balance our energy field. And everything that is happening with us starts in our energy field. So that for me is always a great place to start, is to go back to my energy tools and make sure I haven't gotten sloppy with those. But the next thing that the Pleiadians are always reminding me, because this is a particular trouble spot of mine, is that anytime we are in resistance, anytime we are out of alignment, we are in the mind. We are in the ego, because that is the home of all of our limiting beliefs, all of our trauma, anything that, is social programming, matrix programming, it's all mind. So the first thing that the Pleiadians always remind me to do when I get a little tweaked, a little out of alignment, is to get out of the mind and back into the heart, because the mind is where all of our imbalance is. So that for me is always one of the first things I do is I can almost hear the Pleiadians say, stop, just stop whatever you're doing and get in your heart. And for me, that takes out a lot of my resistance just by that one simple step. So that's always the next thing that I do when, I'm feeling resistant, feeling a little out of alignment. And then something else, and Corey touched on this, it's really important when we are in a state of active resistance. And of course, we always have resistance, but sometimes it is particularly fired up, and that is to process that energy. So I always like to ask myself, what is the theme that is coming up right now? Is it unworthiness? Is it fear? Is it anger? What is triggering me? And then I like to sit down and just do some energy work on that issue, because again, we don't want to ignore anything. We don't want to stick our head in the sand. And so if negative energy is coming up, it means the universe is showing us that there's some healing that needs to be done. So I like to use a process the Pleiadians have been teaching a lot lately to my clients, and it's something they call integration. And they call this the next generation of shadow work. And essentially what this process is a way to bring negative energy into your heart chakra, process it in a particular way, and strip the negative imprinting off of that energy. And that is very powerful because it strips off any limiting beliefs, any, negative thoughts that we have around it, and helps us process this energy very quickly. So that is always one of my favorite tools when I'm releasing blocked energy or, trying to bring myself back into balance. But then other things that sometimes get overlooked when we are bringing ourselves back into alignment is just, Corey mentioned this, balancing your body. What does your body need to feel supported? And that may be moving your body, that may be resting your body. So anything that you can do to honor the feedback your body is giving you can help you bring yourself back to alignment. Because the three of us always talk about how your body will never lie to you. And so starting to bring your body more into balance, whether that is cleaning up your diet, making positive changes, drinking more water, can also help you release resistance. That is one thing that the Pleiadians talk about a lot, is how important water is in flushing out any energies we are processing. So that's something they've been focusing on a lot. So balancing the body for me is always high on the list. And then the last thing when I am out of alignment is I try to balance my life. I try to look around and see what are the things in my life right now that are not supportive. Is that me doing things out of obligation that I don't really want to do? Is this being around people who are negative and draining my energy field? What in your life is contributing to your being out of alignment? And trying to clean that up a little bit. So we can really come at this from many different angles. For me, there's 4 or 5 things that I do when I get out of alignment, and they kind of all work together to help you get back into balance. So that is kind of what I do when I am out of alignment. How about you, Yaila?
I just love what you both shared. As always, so many similarities as far as my process getting back into alignment as well. So thank you both for your insights on that. When I'm noticing I'm out of alignment, first and foremost, how do I know? We kind of touched on this the other video, but I start to feel either more bitter about where my energy is going or not being received, or whatever the impact is, I'm starting to feel bitter about the interaction or frustrated. And that lets me know that something's out of alignment for me, whether it is judgments I have on myself or outside things. So I start to look at, where are my expectations? What am I, I can be in my head really easy. Just like Peyton was saying, you're usually in your mind. I'm in my mind a lot. So I have to look to see, where am I letting my thoughts be focused? Am I focusing on the complaints? What are those complaints? Am I just in this loop of, kind of what has always been? And, is it stagnant there? And so I look at, first of all, what is the emotion I'm feeling? Second of all, where are my thoughts around it? And then third, what would I rather be focusing on? How do I move myself from point A to point B? And I'm such a firm believer that things show up, whether it's for you on a personal, physical, emotional level, or even on the collective, when things pop up in the world around us, it's usually because it's ready to be healed. And so I know that when I'm frustrated or bitter, or there's something I'm, having to look at a little more deeply, whether it's within myself or outside of me, that means it's something that I'm moving to the next level on. I'm leveling up in some way, shape, or form. And it's, in my opinion, we're always being guided back to alignment and back to what our higher self really wants for us. Like, what do we really want out of our life? And so for me, when I am pulling myself back into alignment, the things that I personally need are sometimes more rest. Usually, like 9 times out of 10, I need more sleep. I need to pull back. I need to really recharge my energy, because what can happen very easily for me, and if you learn about human design or discover human design, I'm a projector, and so I can take on other people's energy, and I don't I basically need to like disconnect to really refresh my own battery. And not that I don't love people. I love people. I love being around people, but sometimes if it's just too much, my energy is super depleted, because now I haven't given myself enough time and space to really refresh and renew. And so, first and foremost, for me, it's rest. I give myself rest. I give myself space to breathe, whether that's emotionally, physically, financially. There's been times where I've been frustrated about, where am I spending my money? Like, what is the flow of money? And if that feels out of alignment for me, I have to take a step back. Like, okay, are there things that I am spending my money on that are an energy leak? So I look to see, where are those gaps, where are those energy leaks, I like to call them. And then I give myself some space to kind of rebalance. I love that word, rebalance, that I think you both mentioned that as well. To come back into recalibration. And then I get to ask myself, okay, what is really exciting me? What really lights me up? And, I'm like Corey, laughter is such a great mood shift for me. And when I am calling back things back into alignment, yes, there's the physical aspect of it. I go for a hike, or I'll go for a run, or I get a good workout in, or I'll just dance, to bring myself back into amusement. But it's finding those things that bring you joy. And when you are coming from a more joyful and gracious place and calling in, when I talk about your focus, are you focusing on complaints, or are you focusing on what you're grateful for? It can really start to shift what you're attracting back to your world. And so when I catch myself out of alignment, I'm in those complaints, I'm in my thoughts, I'm in those judgments. When I give myself rest, I give myself some space, I do some things I enjoy, then I'm able to refocus back into those things that are already currently working for me in my life, things that maybe I haven't gave appreciation to in a while. I start to really let myself appreciate all those little mundane things, and the big things too, right? But when you start becoming grateful for what's actually in your world, you start to see solutions. And that's also a mantra I have. Like, if there's a will, there's a way. That's one of my favorite things. If I'm frustrated and I want things to change, if there's a will, there is a way. And it's just, where do you want it to change? What would make you less frustrated? What would make you less harsh on yourself or other people? And so I try to be mindful of the impact my energy has on other people. So if I feel myself in a funky place, I try to be really mindful about not spewing that funk onto everybody else. So that rest and pulling back is extremely helpful for me. Because the last thing I want to do is spread any negativity, and just be responsible for my own energy. So the energy tools that we've talked about in other videos, all of those things, I up the tools, I ground more, I clear my energy field. We have various ways of doing that. If you want to learn more, reach out to any one of us. But that's really where I start to lean in on the tools. If I feel like I can't move anything, it's stagnant, and then redirect my focus. And I find that when I'm frustrated, it's usually a time for me to get more clear on what my alignment would actually look like. So those would be some questions you can ask yourself. Like, if you were back in alignment, what would that actually look like? What would that feel like? How would you be moving your body? How frequently? Where would you be spending your time? Where would you be spending your resources? Your energy is a resource, your finances are a resource, your time, your energy, money, those are your resources. So how are you utilizing that? And is it serving for you and the greater good in the world that you're trying to create? So getting back into alignment, it does take a little bit of looking at, okay, what is working? What's not working? What's the frustration, and how do you get out of that? So those are kind of my go-tos. But ladies, anything else popping up for you when it comes to getting back into alignment?
I think something that pops up for me, just as a kind of a last thought, is being gentle with yourself, because we can get so incredibly frustrated with ourselves when we're feeling gross. And, sometimes that's just the time for more self-love, because I know I'm, can get impatient that, you're doing all this work and why isn't it working? And we start to pile on ourselves. So for me, when I get out of alignment, that's when I try to be gentle with myself, because sometimes we can tend to go in the other direction. So that's one last thing I'd throw in.
I love that. And I definitely agree with that. And I know that's a big proponent, Corey. Oh, she's like, self-care. I remember in so many of our videos, Corey's like self-care. But I love that, Peyton, being gentle with yourself. I fully agree, having compassion for where you're at. And just going back to when challenges pop up, it's letting you know that something's ready to be healed and change is coming. It's not a bad thing. You're always moving into better alignment. So it is for your greater good, even though there's a little swirliness in the meantime. So
You know what I think I'll add to that too is you ladies are so brilliant. I just love you. Is also too is that, you know, to get back into alignment at times we do need self-care. And one of the things that oftentimes we need to ask ourselves is, you know, is this my energy, or is the way that I'm feeling right now reflecting the outside world? Because I know that if you're sensitive, like myself, I can pick up other people's the energy around the world. And I know that it's really important to get back into alignment with myself. And sometimes those questions are, is this my energy that I'm feeling? Is it not my energy? Am I taking on other people's energy? We have this great video called Energy Depleters. And we go through a lot of what the energy depleters can be. But being gentle with ourselves, being good to ourselves, and we can get frustrated because, you know, like Peyton, like you were saying, you do all this work and nothing's happening. And oftentimes before we have a very big change and shift in our energy, we start to really feel funky. I call it, I got that funky feeling. Sometimes it's just the feels, and sometimes it's the funky feels. So I loved what you said, Yaila, about, you know, it needs to be looked at, you know, to get back into alignment. But one of the things that oftentimes, if you're an empath or sensitive, is ask if it's your energy or not your energy, because you might be putting more work on yourself that's really not needed if you ask yourself that question. I know for me, I know that's one of the first things to ask my students and my clients. Do you think this is your energy or is it not your energy? And the difference between those two. But getting yourself into alignment is about taking care of yourself. What does it take? Could be a hot bath, laughter, physically moving your body, or just calling a friend. Sometimes just talking it out too. Ladies, you know, we problem solve through talking. Men, not so much. Women, that's how we do it. So it is a delicate balance right now on the planet to be aligned and to get back into, I've worked harder at being aligned and getting back into alignment more this last year than any other year in my life, honestly, because the energies are so strong. So I've had to work harder at aligning myself, getting aligned, caring for the self. And I'm talking about that a lot with my clients and students because the energies are strong. That's all I've got.
So great. Any last comments? Lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and such a Try that again. Thank you so much for joining us. And such a great reminder from Corey. We actually have a very extensive library. So check out any one of our pages for various topics when it comes to your energy. I guarantee you, we've probably talked on the subject that you might need some discussion around or insights around. So feel free to check those out. And we always appreciate you liking, sharing your beautiful comments. We appreciate you so much for joining us for these weekly videos, and we will see you next time. Bye.